Hey guys, I'm down here. This is going to be my chapter review to One Piece 923 Kaido the Yonko versus Luffy. Now this chapter... I just turned on my fan. Alright, now this chapter was... It made me so happy because things didn't turn out the way I thought they would from last chapter. If you saw my review, it didn't turn out like that at all. There was no 3v3. But Oda made sure that all the fans knew by the end of this chapter the power scalings within One Piece, especially in relation to Yonko and other pirates, and we've needed that kind of foundation for a while now, especially with the whole Big Mom thing and the whole Cake Island arc. Essentially, we've needed more of a foundation of what are the Yonko capable of and how powerful are they. So we start with Luffy still pissed, having punched Kaido into the ground, and he's just there, kind of fuming, and everyone's annoyed. They're all evacuating from this little area in Kuri. They're in leftover town. And everyone's afraid because they're just like, who the hell just knocked down Kaido? Like no one comes in and just knocks down Kaido. So Luffy immediately turns towards the mountain, fearing for the rest of his crew and the Heart Pirates and stuff like that. And Shutenmaru tells his boys at this point, he's like, yo, you guys get back to the mountain, the forest, wherever you need to go back to the mountain while I stay here. He says he has a bad feeling and that something's bothering him, so he wants to stay. So I was like, cool, Shutenmaru's staying. We needed that. He definitely has an interest in Luffy in some form or shape, and he's interested in who the hell Luffy is and what he's here to do. Key point. So we then see a collapsed Speed just pop up out of nowhere. She's just on the ground, and obviously the Beast Pirates are concerned for her because they don't know that she went off with Tama. So she's all bloodied up. She's in dire straits big time, and Luffy sees her and he's like, what the heck? And so he goes up to her and asks what the heck just happened, like why you basically half dead. She's bleeding from her face and everything. She's on the floor, incapable of like moving, and he asks her whether she got Tama home safely, and she just apologizes and says, dude, we ran into freaking Kaido. They freaking ran into Kaido on their way back, Tama and Speed. And I was like, it would have been GG for anyone if they ran into a drunk Kaido, but it was just specifically them two that ran into a drunk Kaido, and it would have been an oh shit moment, and it was an oh shit moment for me. I was like, oh my god, Tama and freaking Speed ran into Kaido. So she tells Luffy this. She's like, we ran into Kaido and I wasn't able to protect Tama. And obviously we see a small flashback while Luffy he becomes absolutely enraged and guilt-ridden. That's the key part. In this chapter, it was like we get to see Luffy once again, kind of like an Ace thing all over again. He becomes guilt-ridden at not having the forethought or the foresight or the capabilities to actually help people. But there's a little bit more to the guilt that I'll come back to later on. So we see this small flashback where Speed and Tama then run into a dragon form Kaido, and we then see far away and near the forest a smashed apple, which was Tama's apple, Tama's arm, and I think it's hopefully connected to the rest of her body. I'm pretty sure it is, because we see a mound which is her body, and it's like she's lying there limp on the floor, blood around her. Now Luffy realizes, and I'll come back to that later, seeing Tama like that, but Luffy realizes that he should have gone with Tama, and this is what I love about this chapter. So Luffy and his crew have essentially come to Wano, and they've strolled in. It's not been a difficult thing. They've just strolled into Wano, and they've started doing some crazy shit as if there wouldn't be any drawbacks or any negatives to any of the things they've been doing, as if this wasn't a Yonko they were nipping at the tail of. You don't just go up to a pirate who's been in the game for time compared to you. He's been in the game for years compared to Luffy and his crew, and you don't just go and freaking start nipping at their tail expecting them to turn around and not bit slap you, which is essentially where we're going to get to. Now, this chapter, Luffy gets a taste of something very important for me, and I think for a lot of people, which was his actions. He needed to know that his actions carry consequences, not just for himself, but for those around him. And Luffy needed to stay undercover. He needed to stay undercover when he got to Wano with his crew, and he needed to remain unknown in Wano. But he chose to cause a scene and let himself be found out, resulting in Tama. It's basically his fault that Tama got obviously she got a full belly and stuff like that. She managed to eat, but it's definitely Luffy's fault that she also got a one-way trip to the afterlife, and I think she might actually be dead. So it's a bit harsh, but I do hope And I don't think it's going to happen because it's not really Oda style or One Piece style. But I do hope that Tama is actually dead, because Luffy needs to toughen up mentally and emotionally, because he affects the people around him with his sporadicness and his how randomly he'll just do something without thinking about it, or thinking about whether it will affect people around him and how it will affect people around him. So he needs to toughen up mentally and emotionally, and consider that sometimes people's short-term happiness isn't better than helping them out in the long term, which is what he granted the people of Kuri, or Leftover Town. He granted them that short-term happiness. He gave them food and everything like that, water, and he was really pleased that they were all happy, and he was happy and stuff like that. But then he brought, because of his actions and because of the commotion he'd caused, you can't really blame him for Kaido coming along, but definitely you can blame him for Jack coming along. And Jack was already destroying the village and stuff like that, so a lot of this is Luffy's fault. And then Kaido obviously getting drunk, turning up to Kuri, where he'd been to Leftover Town, where he'd been hearing of all this shit. So technically Kaido only popped up because of all of this stuff that's been going on, and all this kind of subconscious shit that he's been hearing. That's why he popped up to Leftover Town, and it's Luffy's fault for causing the commotion. So Luffy needs this to toughen up, because he needs to realize that his actions have consequences. So Law runs up to Luffy, telling him to abort and stick to the plan. He's like, we need to get the heck out of here. We don't even know if our crew are alive. We need to get the hell out of here. So Luffy's emotions here get the better of him, and he reveals his position to Kaido and his identity to Kaido. He's like, yo, I'm Luffy, I'm going to be Pirate King. I was like, not a good idea. Really not a good idea. So Kaido tries to heat blast Luffy while he's in his dragon form, but the attack is too slow, and Luffy just speeds away and actually throws speed away from the damage, and proceeds to completely unload all of his anger on Kaido. He completely unloads on Kaido and offloads everything on Kaido, starting with the Busoshoku elephant Gatling. Kaido gets knocked back, and he gets knocked back into the ground, reverting to his human form, which I was quite shocked about. But I was like, the key thing here was that Kaido wasn't avoiding the attacks, he was waiting. You could see it every time before he was attacked. There was a panel where he just looked at the attack and he was like, it's coming, I'll take it, I'll tank it. So he watched the attacks come to him and simply ate them. That's literally what Kaido did this chapter. And as Kaido gets up in his human form, Luffy goes straight to Gear 4. He's not bullshitting, he's pissed, and he tries to take out Kaido so that they don't have to follow up with Law's plan. He's just like, I'm going to take Kaido out now so we don't have to follow through with your plan. So Kaido once again watches as Luffy Kongorgans his face and Kongorgans the rest of his body, just smashing him and sending him flying. And Law watches with major concern on his face. He's just like, I don't know which way this is going to go. Is Luffy actually going to damage him? What's going to happen? He's really concerned. Hawkins looks neutral, which was that was a bad sign. Shutenmaru is shocked, and he wonders, I think, who the hell Luffy is. And he does say, who the hell is this guy? He's just coming to Wano, he's kicking the shit out of Kaido. Who is he? So Kaido, then he's been sent flying, and he just gets up off the ground, and he sighs as he gets up off the ground. He's not bleeding or anything, so I was like, uh-oh, he just took Gear 4th Kongorgan. He's not even damaged, there's no scuff marks or anything, he's not bleeding. Kaido's fine, he's had worse than this many times in his life. So he sighs as he gets back to his feet, and in an instant he one-shots Luffy and wins the fight. That's exactly how it turned out. He just gets up, one-shots Luffy, ends the fight. Luffy got demolished. Luffy actually couldn't do anything against Kaido. Kaido let him do things against him, and Luffy didn't have enough strength to damage him while he was given the opportunities to damage him. Kaido was probably just like, I hope this guy can kill me, and then when Luffy couldn't kill him, he was like, nah, I'm going to kill him. So, like I said, Kaido just gets back up and absolutely ends him. And there are a couple of things to note here. Someone as large as Kaido, he's a huge guy, absolutely huge, was swift enough to completely slip through Luffy's Garden Kenbun Shoku no Haki. He just completely slipped through Luffy's advanced Kenbun Shoku no Haki now, his advanced observation Haki, and nails him straight up. Luffy had no chance. Luffy kind of realizes something's about to happen. He's like, oh shit, and then wrecked. Absolutely wrecked. No chance to even dodge. So that's one point. But as Kaido clubs Luffy across the head, you assume, because that's where the blood seems to be, we get that familiar crackle of black lightning, usually a telltale sign of Haoshoku no Haki clashing. So maybe there's I'm not sure if Kaido imbued his weapon with Haoshoku no Haki, or is it just because two two people who have Haoshaku no Haki clashed, and even though they weren't actually using it, it just like that black lightning just comes out because they both possess it. I think it might be more to do with that. Now, third, Luffy got absolutely demolished in one strike. There's no way he can. I'm gonna accept later on a 1v1 Kaido versus Luffy again, and Luffy wins. There has to be some sort of major weakness to Kaido, or everyone has to fight against Kaido together. I would accept that if everyone just kind of jumped Kaido and tried to kill him that way. I'd be fine with that because he's too strong. He's way too strong, and this will have to be a joint effort. So what will happen next? Law will have to try to get Luffy the heck out of there with the help of Shutenmaru, I'd think. Because Shutenmaru seems to be interested in Luffy, and that's all I can think of right now. I think Luffy needs to be saved. He needs to be healed by like Chopper and Law, and then they need to figure out what to do next. Because Kaido knows they're there, and the rest of their crew, we don't even know if they're alive, but Kaido knows they're there, and he's not messing around. He just one-shot freaking Luffy. Insane. So let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in a bit.